It's March, but it's finally time to do a flip through of my reading journal to show you all the pages that I created back in December. I know I'm incredibly behind with this video, but it's better later than never.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome, I'm Stefania.
I'm gonna start from the yearly pages, and this is the last time you're gonna see them fully fill in. But don't worry, I'm gonna have a flip through video, I'm not talking about one coming out pretty soon, in which I'm showing my whole reading journal from 2024, so I'm just gonna go through all the pages again. Anyway, let's start from my bookshelf. As you can see, there are still some books that ended up being empty, but as said multiple times, I'd rather have more space than what I actually need, because my goal for this year was 50, and I've ended up reading 65. So I'm extremely happy when I do something like this, so I leave more space just in case, because I've ended up using it. And if there are still some books that are white, it's perfectly fine. Then I've updated my book log with the books that I've read in December. Reading tracker, in December I've done it again. I read each single day. It doesn't matter how much time I spend reading or how many pages. The important is that I spend a little bit of time with a book, and I'm extremely happy because I've done it in 2024. I've read a little bit each single day, and I'm extremely happy about it. "2024 books read." I've added a few books that I've read in December. Pick one. My December one was The Christmas Tree Farm, which I don't know why I still haven't called it The Stars. Maybe I'll do it now. And as you can see, this side of the page, I still have to fill in everything. Actually, I know the winner, let's say it in this way. The thing is that since I've decided to structure the page in this way, and here to put the covers of the book, I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait until the end of the year to do that. And then, well, my printer broke, sadly, yes. And I had to change it. And so now I still have to print a lot of things that I, let's say, left behind. But once I'm gonna do the whole flip through, that's gonna be a different video. You're gonna see this page fully filled in. Favorite books, nothing changed. Even here I still have to print a cover. But in December there hasn't been a book that was a 5 stars for me. I've updated my monthly reads with the books that I read in December. Leggiamo con le streghe and Cerbero Book Club, they're both been updated. If they're exactly like the previous month, because sometimes I'm a little bit confused, because sometimes I read the books before and then I have them here later and I mess up a little bit. The thing is that they've been updated, that's it. These are the books that I read with them in 2024. There were of course more books, but some of them I've decided not to read them, so that's why there aren't actually 12 books in both of the pages. Series tracker has been updated, I guess, because in December I don't think I started any series. Actually, I did with some romances like the Dream Harbor one, but we got it that here I'm not writing down this type of series apparently. Bingo has been the same because I filled it in all months ago. Storygraph, I've updated it, and this is why I always like to leave a little bit more space, because my goal was 50, so technically it was here, but I always leave a little bit more space just in case, and in fact it was a smart thing to do. Challenges, my alphabet one ended up being almost complete, let's be nice, but I couldn't fill in everything. But I wasn't expecting that, honestly. I wasn't thinking, oh, you know what, I'm gonna fill in everything. Nope. I've been saying that since the very beginning. While for these other two challenges, I've updated them, and the front, I still have to print the covers to put them behind. But yeah, at the end of the day, I was expecting this one to be definitely a messed up one, because I basically ignored it for the majority of the time this year. Instead, on 12, I left empty 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4, which is amazing for me with this challenge. While and it's the buzzword one, the general one, instead I feel lonely in here where I still have to bring some covers. Genre tracker, and here's the thing, at the end of the year I can say that fantasy is the one that won. It's not like I was trying to see who would become a winner, but I was quite expecting it, so I'm not really surprised. Well, for my TBR, the year was almost perfect. By the end, I started the month with 0 book, then I've added 3. I've actually got them all as a gift, and I've managed to read just 1 because 2 of them arrived like around Christmas, and so I finished the year with 2 books in my physical TBR. I will have this page also for 2025, yes, but 2025 is gonna be not spending so much money on books because, well, I'm saving for the extremely important things, and so I think that this page could be way different this year, but who knows, we're gonna see. And then it's time for my reading stats. I've read 7 books, 6 were books, 1 was a physical book, 1,824 pages, I read for 31 days, 7 books, I read them all in English, and when it comes to the rating, the month didn't start at the best because the first book of December was just a 1.5 star for me, and it was a painful book. I should have definitely DNF'd it. I don't know why I haven't done it, but then it was pretty well, even if I have something to say about the books, but we're gonna talk about them in the monthly pages, so yes. And then of course I've done all the total at the end, and well, I've definitely read more physical books this year, which isn't good, because I think that all of these physical books, the majority of them were books that I've actually bought, and well, I've just said I have to enter not spending on books, so I think this could definitely change in a big way for 2025. Probably we'll read more ebooks than physical books. Who knows? And I'm happy because I read each single day for the whole year, so pretty well. And I'm also happy because I've managed to read 18 books in English, which is pretty good. Let's go through my monthly pages. I will not talk about the reading stats again because I've just said everything I have to. Moving to my monthly page, my monthly view actually. As you can see, there is quite enough color and I'm happy about it. I'm gonna be honest, I have this thing. I hate to finish the year with a book that's not finished, so I really love to start a new year with a new book. So when it comes to December, I always want to finish my last book on the 31st, and this year it happened that I started one on the 26th, and I was like, yes, no problem. The book got me. So then I was like, okay, you can't keep on reading like this or you will not do it. I know it's stupid, it's just that my brain gets such a big satisfaction from finishing my last book of the year on the last day of the year and starting my new year with a new book. So I was like, okay, today I'm just reading for 10 minutes, no longer, because I swear I will not do it. This is why in the last few days of the month you're gonna see me reading basically almost just a few pages, let's say it this way. Reading tracker, as I've just said, I read a little bit each single day and I'm extremely happy about that. And this is what I was talking about in the last few days. I started on the 26th this book and I read 83 pages. The day after I read 170 pages, and then I was like, oh, okay, I have to check a little bit more myself if I want to actually do it. So then I've just read 27 pages, 10 pages, 22 and 13 to finish it. So yes, I know it's not normal, but this is just how my brain works. The first book was Elfemies to Lovers, and I was really like, oh, this sounds so good, like it seems like a lovely one, and I wanted to do this thing in December, which was reading all books about Christmas just to get in the mood. Sadly, the majority of them disappointed on that side. I literally searched up for Christmas books and things like that, and I wasn't really happy with the result because almost no one of them made me feel like Christmas. Elfemies to Lovers, 1 star and half. This was a big no for me. I wanted to DNF it. While reading it, I was thinking this could end up in my books under the DNF category, but I was like, maybe it's gonna get better. No, it doesn't. Let's start from the very basic thing, which is if you're gonna put me Elfemies to Lovers, which is like a way of joking with words to go from the enemies to lovers, I'm expecting to see the enemies part. These two aren't enemies. Apparently, just because you arrive in line to buy your, I don't remember if it was a muffin or a cupcake, something like that, and the one that you like the most is finished because that man bought the last one, that's what you need to consider them enemies. They're not people that have been hating each other for years and years and years. They're people that just barely met. And I was like, there's not an enemies part. Then everything else was a big no. I can't say exactly what really disappointed me because it would be a spoiler, but too many things that didn't work for me. I was really like, no, a waste of my time, and this is definitely a book I would never ever recommend to anybody. Like, absolutely no. I was like, why am I torturing myself like this? It's a short book, yet since I couldn't stand it basically at all, even if I had time, I literally took a lot to finish it. Like, we talk about days. Instead, considering how many pages it has, I was expecting to read it in 2 days, something like that. Nope. The more I was getting into the book, the more I was hating it. And this is why for 2025, I've decided that one of my goals is also to learn to actually DNF books. Like, a thing is there just a tiny thing that disappoints you. Another one is you can keep on going because the story makes no sense. The characters are flat, like there's nothing that makes them enjoyable or likable, and the book itself, it's just a big no for me. Then stop wasting your time on that book. There are so many other books that are worth your time, so just put it down and say goodbye to that book. A waste of my time. I don't recommend you reading it. Then it was time to go back to Dream Arbor, so The Christmas Tree Farm was my other pick for the month. 4 stars and half. I loved it. The first thing that you're gonna see here, it's another boom of stickers. These are stickers that I've created and they're available in my shop on Etsy. The link is in the description box. And I was creating them while reading the book. I was like, oh, this would be a cool sticker, just because I was like, I will have to create a spread over this book and it would be nice to actually have stickers that fit with the book. I've done it also with the second book of the series, and then I've also created a sticker sheet for the first book, even if I haven't used them in the actual spread because I've created it after. But you can find this, let's say, from books to stickers or on Etsy. And are things that if you read the book, you know. I like the idea of creating a, let's say, a Grinch heart. Then there are the socks with peaches and the candles. How much I love this thing, you have no idea. The book, the letters, there are things that if you read the book, you know what I mean. Now, going to the book itself, I loved it, absolutely yes. Like, this one made me feel more, maybe it wasn't constantly reminding me about Christmas, but there was so much that was making me feeling into the mood, I would say. And I love the 2 characters. I love the fact that Kira is the one that's actually like a Grinch and not Bennett. And I love the main thing of this book, which is this woman that decided to buy a Christmas tree farm when she doesn't like Christmas at all. And I was like, okay, this is so funny. I really loved to see her growing in this book and to learn more about her struggling with her twin sister, like being divided and learning to live on your own, feeling like you're left behind, having to learn to do something on your own. And I'm pretty sure she learned a lot just throughout the whole book, I would say. While Bennett is another character that was really interesting, even though I couldn't stand his sister. Like, the more I get into this series, the more I might decide to choke her, which is weird because she was the main character of the first book, and it's not like she was pissing me off that much in the first book, you know? But I definitely loved this one, and I can't wait to read the other books in this series. It was definitely a lovely book, and it didn't even take me long to read it. Like, I think I've done it in 3 days. It was definitely amazing, and it was worth my time. My December darling, 3 stars and a half. Here's the thing, this was in so many videos that were like, oh, Christmas books, or the perfect book to read on Christmas, things like that. And I was expecting then a lot from it. Also because I've read other things by this author and I loved the other books, so I was like really into just the idea of reading it. So when I read it, I was like, yes, gorgeous. But then I actually started reading it and I was kind of disappointed by it a little bit. 3 stars and a half. The whole Christmas thing is almost nowhere to be seen. Like, I didn't feel it at all, and it's sad. Also, the 2 main characters, I think there were so many parts that could have been amazing, that like could have been used better, especially about their situation in their families. It would have been amazing. Instead, no. I feel like they weren't that deep by the end of the book. I didn't feel any connection with them. I was just like, oh, okay, the book is done, it's over, it's finished, that's it. Let's move to another book. So this is really, really sad. There are other books in which the characters stick with me. So still nowadays, I think about characters from books that I've read years and years ago. This one instead was a book in which the characters, well, they were simply out of my mind in less than an hour. And it's so sad. It was just another book that left me disappointed. Like, there are things I really want to tell you about that didn't work for me, but they are spoilers. Oh gosh, this is starting to be very painful. I should consider doing more book reviews, so the videos in which I create the spread and I actually talk about the book and I say, hey, there are spoilers, so it's up to you to choose if watch the full video with audio or just watch the video without the sound part, so you're just gonna still enjoy what I do without having any spoilers. But at least I can say exactly what's a big no for me, because now this is the situation in which I am for almost every book in December, so this is quite sad. But at the end of the day, this wasn't an amazing book. It's not a long one, but it was a book that I can say disappointed me, yes. Would I recommend it? I don't know. I'm off and down from this. If you give a Grandpa Holiday wishlist, before talking about the book, these 4 stickers, you can find them on my shop, and they were from the Remarble collection, if we want to call it in this way. There were more in that set, but they wouldn't have been well used in here. I don't know, they weren't in the, let's say, it wasn't the right book for them, I would say. Going back to the book, 3 stars and a half. It's a short book, so I started it one day, the next day I was over with it. 3 stars and a half because it started pretty well, then there were things that for me were like, not even a no, but to make something happen in book, you have to give it time. You can't do things in a rush. It's just like these books that are like, oh, this is an enemies to lovers, and they're not even enemies for a chapter. Okay, it makes no sense. And here there are different situations in which I was expecting more on them, like it's gonna need more time. Instead, no. Presley's brothers, they really pissed me off, I'm gonna be honest. I know that this is part of a series and the others focus on the brothers, and this is the thing. I probably would not read them because I just couldn't stand them at all in this book. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't like them. Jack, on the other hand, is a character that could have had so much more, again, from his side of the family, I would say, if we would have looked more into that. Instead, no, it was just giving a little idea and then we moved to something completely different. I just think that when it comes to certain books, some of them are way too long, some others are way too short. I'm okay with a short book, but if it gives me what it has to. Just like I'm okay with a long book if it's not too much. Anyway, I don't know if I would tell you to read this book. Then it's time for Meet Me Under the Mistletoe, and it's another 3 stars and a half. It's another one that I was expecting it to be more about Christmas. Instead, no. I don't know. I think that in this case the problem was that I quite felt more for Nori, while for Isaac he was left as a main character, but he wasn't like that main character. I know it makes no sense in this way, but he was quite a flat. There weren't any deep thing about him. Like when you finally arrive to tell his story about his family and the whole truth behind a certain thing, I can tell you it's spoiler, I was expecting to see more. Instead it's like, I'm here, I exist, that's it. I wanted more about him, literally. I needed to know more. While with Nori we can see several things. We can see her with her friends, we can see her with dealing with her daily life and her job. We can see her dealing with her friends from school, which are very different from her. They were born and grow up rich. She wasn't. She ended up going to their same school thanks to a scholarship. And so it's crystal clear that it's different. We see her going through the, am I sure I'm doing what I really want to do with life? Her dealing with so much, and then we see her going back home for his wedding and still going to visit her family. Like her relationship with her brother and with her parents, especially with her brother. I'm not a fan of him, no at all. I just couldn't stand him, honestly. I was like, mind your businesses, man. Like, leave her in peace. The story isn't a bad one, it's a lovely one, but there are things that made me go like, really? I've ended up reading it and I've enjoyed it a little bit, yes, but I wouldn't say it drove me crazy. Then it was time for Baby's Cold Outside, 4 stars. I can say that I liked this one definitely more compared to the other books, but the thing is that I can say I have a little bit of problem with Nora in certain parts. Like, all of a sudden you go back in the past, you think about what happened decades earlier, and I'm not saying it's bad, it can happen, but you really decide to go on a trip to a place because you think you're gonna meet that person again, and I knew what happened since the moment in which she goes to his friend and Joey's like, okay, I'll come with you. Like, for me, there was crystal clear. Let's say how things would have ended up. Okay, I don't want to give spoilers, this is so hard. I think I would have loved to have a little bit more about Joe, but I understand why there wasn't so much focus on him, because you read the majority of the book going through it seeing has Nora balancing everything to go back to find again Andrew because she's expecting him to be her future. She's like, he was my past, he's gonna be also my future. The thing is that what probably she forgot for quite the majority of the time was that just like she changed from the girl that she was back then, the same thing could have happened to him, and people grow up and people change. And I'm not talking about just physically change. I was expecting the ending. Yes, absolutely. And I can't say more because it's a spoiler. Anyway, 4 stars, it wasn't a bad book. It definitely gave me hope again, because after several books that were a little bit like, I'm not really happy about them, I was finally happy to be like, okay, I really like this one. In 2023, I've read Behind the Net, and I was so happy this past year in 2024 to read the second one from that series, and it's The Fake Out, because I truly loved the first one. It was a 5 stars. This time we're following Hazel and Rory, and she's the sister of the main character of the first book, so we've already met her, and we've already met him a little bit in the first book. As the title says, they're faking a relationship, and I can tell you I loved it, yes, but this is an example of what I meant. There are books that sometimes could be shorter, because sometimes you end up putting the same things over and over and over again. I'm okay with spicy scenes, I have no problem with them. I mean, I do have problem with them if they are translated, but in English I don't. But for me, I am like, okay, there's a limit. After a little bit, I was like, you know what? There was no need for this to be here. Sometimes I'm like, you don't need to write 300-400 pages for a romance if a lot of them will be just the same thing over and over again. I definitely loved again the messages that there are behind this story. Just like in the first book, there were some important topics, also in this one. The only thing that, let's say, made me think a little bit more was the situation with Hazel's mom. So her mother is struggling with her appearance. She's like, I was a ballerina, then I've ended up pregnant, I don't have that body anymore, and she considers herself fat and all, and so Hazel is really mad about it because she's like, that's not true. She has a gorgeous body, she shouldn't feel ashamed to go to any type of classes, whether it could be dance classes or Pilates or whatsoever, just because of her body. Like sports and this type of activities should be inclusive for everybody. Nobody should feel ashamed, and this is like what she wants to do in her life. And you know, it's important and all, but at the same time my brain was like, I don't recall any of this about this mother in the first book. We've met her in the first book because the main character of the first book was Hazel's sister, so we've met her before. And I'm like, is it possible that her sister knows nothing about all of this? Really? I mean, her mom is the one that at dinner was like, I've eaten enough, and Hazel was like, she's been barely eating, and her sister was there just like her. So I'm like, this for sure wasn't the first time that it was happening, because Hazel said multiple times that it was something she had to deal with, let's say this way, growing up, and she was mad that her mom was feeling this way, but I don't recall her sister ever mentioning it. So maybe it's me not remembering, I don't know, but this made me go a little bit like, wait a second. While for Rory, his relationship with his dad was definitely an interesting one, and he ends up in a situation in which is like, do I still have passion for Rocky? Because now I score and I feel empty, I don't feel anything. What's wrong? From that point of view, he definitely goes through a big growth throughout the book, and you can be proud of him. I loved it, yes, 4 stars, not just as much as the first one, but still it was pretty enjoyable, and it's not like I didn't want to read it, because this book really, I started the first day and the second, and I was almost over with it, and then I had to just slow down to get my last book of the year. So this are the books that I read in December. I was wondering, have you read them? Yes or no? Let me know with a comment. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, remember to give it a thumb up and to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you again so much for your support, and see you next time. Bye!